how to restructure the program to make it more interesting and beneficial. So what I've done is I compiled a syllabus for up until the end of the year. It was still all still here, so hopefully that will take us through some of the classical commentators on the Quran, and we'll use those commentaries as a vehicle to expand our vocabulary and practice sentences, and also enter into some grammatical points that are often neglected by everyone who studies the Arabic language, just because they're tricky and they take up a lot of your time and mental energy. And so let me share the screen, and you can see the what I've got prepared. This is always the bit that confuses me now. How do I get the screen up? So if I share the screen, oh, okay, there it is. There was no preview. Okay, so can everyone see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, let me just figure out how to put it into. Okay, so this is the program we'll be going through. So the plan for term 1, as you can see on the board, is to I don't think we'll get through all of it because it's awfully large, I think, and some of it's longer than the others, but overall I tried to prepare for today, and it seemed like there was more content than time available to actually teach and learn from it. So we have from the Tafsir, we have from the different commentaries, we have Muqatil ibn Sulaiman, and this is what I've just called the classical period. So Muqatil ibn Sulaiman, he comments very briefly on Quranic verses. Imam Malik, as you know, famous faqih or jurist. Imam Shafi, also famous jurist, and At-Tabari, famous historian. And then on the right side, you have some grammatical points like the irregular verb, because how do you do morphology to verbs that have like a weak letter in them. You often forget how that's done. So we can just brush over those things with a few examples. And then I thought that as well, in order to make these words and concepts stick, it would be good to focus on one theme. So one of the things that's always kind of been of interest to me is why God decided to send an Arabic Quran, and this also happens to be the subject I'm studying at the moment for my dissertation. And so I wanted it to be, I think it would be economical for me to use the content that I already have to go deeper into the Quranic verses about the Arabic quality of the Quran. I mean, one of the first verse that we're starting off with is Inna anzalnahu Qur'anan Arabiyyan la'allakum ta'qilun, and there's a clear indication that the Quran is Arabic, and the intention of it is for those who know the language to understand it, and for the general audience to understand it. So where does that leave us? So if we study with the verses like that, then we can have a clearer understanding of that from a conceptual perspective, and also from a perspective of language. So the way we'll try to expand our knowledge of the Arabic language will basically just be through selecting unfamiliar verbs and nouns, and going through them and memorizing them and using them in different sentence structures. And then also we'll do the same with the grammatical points. We'll try to incorporate them into our speech and writing. So to begin, I guess the first thing that I wanted to look at, the first commentary that I wanted to look at, is of Muqatil ibn Sulaiman. So in the Arabic or Islamic tradition, there's a type of literature called the Tabaqat literature, and in this Tabaqat literature, it just simply records the biographical works of early, jurists, of commentators on the Quran, of important people, and the science is also known as ilm al-rijal, and they use it a lot in the science of hadith, because you need to verify which hadith narrators are of a good high moral status and have good memories and were actually about at the times that they say they were about to record certain hadith and such. And so this is a good in for us to study briefly who this man was. So if you look at one of the main works of Tabaqat literature, you get on Muqatil ibn Sulaiman, you get this very, very, very short sentence. So perhaps somebody could read this if they wish. Does anyone want to read this at all? I can't see anybody, so all I can see is SN, and it's a blank screen. So if anybody,
well,
anybody...
my video is on.
Sorry?
My video is on, but maybe it's hidden on Skype.
Yeah, you know, when I go over to my presentation, I can only see one box, so it gives me, it now gives me your box. So if anyone wants to read,
I can go first.
Sure. Okay.
So Ibn Sa'd, date 847 Common Era. Muqatil bin Sulaiman البلخي صاحب التفسير روى عن الضحاك ابن مزاحم وعطاء وأصحاب الحديث يتقون حديثه وينكرونه.
Wonderful. Would you like to give an attempt at translating, or?
So someone named Muqatil, son of Sulaiman of Balkh, the owner of Tafsir, or the Mufassir.
Okay.
On the narration of Dahak.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Okay, that's someone else. Okay, Dahak, the son of Muzahim.
Yeah.
And Muhaddis, Ashab al-Hadith, I'm thinking. يتقون حديثه وينكرونه. So he's doing what?
Okay, so this يتقون, so it's وأصحاب الحديث. This is the sentence. وأصحاب الحديث يتقون حديثه وينكرونه. So from the beginning it says, so Muqatil ibn Sulaiman al-Balkhi. Balkhi is a person from the region of Balkh, which is just a region in Afghanistan. And this construction, we saw it last year. You know, it's the same. It's a very like systematical way of just saying where somebody's from. It's like saying India or Britain, or with an O. So al-Balkh is a region, and you just say, if a person is from that region, you would say al-Balkhi. And if it was a female, you'd say the feminine version. Balkhiya. Okay, so it says Muqatil ibn Sulaiman al-Balkhi, Sahib al-Tafsir. And I would say Sahib here, although it has connotations of ownership, you know, you might say Sahib al-Bayt, the owner of the house. Here it really means, because he's not the owner of Tafsir, it would really mean an author, you know, somebody who writes Tafsir. So Sahib al-Tafsir, that's his craft, that's his profession, that's what he's known for. So Sahib really just means somebody who's really close to that discipline. So Sahib al-Tafsir, I didn't put any synonyms there for that. So maybe, but what you're saying, Mufassir, that's literally what it's saying. Huwa Mufassirun. يعني يفسر القرآن. I'm left-handed, so all of my text comes out wonky. He explains the Quran. That's all he does. But additionally, he's also known for his theological works too, and he's quite a controversial figure. So not particularly the one we'll take all of the meanings of the Quran from, probably. We'll stick maybe to some of the more orthodox interpretations of the Quran. But what he says, the one I picked, is nothing controversial at all about that. So البلخي صاحب التفسير روى عن الضحاك ابن مزاحم. So he narrated from Dahak, and they would say that just simply to give you an idea of his sanad, of his line, to know who narrated from him. And there's a whole literature that just outlines all of those things, because this is the basis of our tradition. It is one of certainty. It is one of coming to know. How do we know that the Prophet actually said what he said? We don't have information, biographical information, about those people that narrated, then we can't have certainty that the Prophet said what he said. So this tabaqat literature, ilm al-rijal literature, it includes all of this information about these people. So similarly, وَعَطَاءٍ from Ata. وَأَصْحَابُ الْحَدِيثِ يَتَّقُونَ حَدِيثَهُ. So what does this verb here mean? So it's a verb from the root ittaqa. It comes from waqa, and this verb has connotations with caution. It's I believe it's the word taqwa is on the same pattern, or has connotations with that word. So ittaqa also has a weak verb here, which we're going to study today, inshallah. But ittaqa means actually that they are cautious. They are cautious of his hadith. So what do we have? Sorry, I'm going to start a new slide. So they were cautious of his hadith, and they didn't even want to take it. So ittaqa. Yattaqi. Ittiqa. Does it say yattaquna hadithahu? So they brought the object here. Yattaquna, because it's plural. We have una at the end because it's saying wa ashabul hadith. Yattaqu. This is referring to the ashabul hadith, meaning the people that are specialists in the knowledge of prophetic transmission. Those people, those specialists, yattaquna hadithahu, they are very, very cautious of his narrations, to the extent that they yankarunahu. They actually reject it. The present tense verb. Yankaruna, what is it? Is it who? His hadith. They reject him, sorry. They reject him, and not. They also reject his hadith, but they reject him too. This who seems to be going back to the actual narrator. Okay, that's just a small introduction to Muqatil ibn Sulaiman. And then let us move on to a more expanded version of this. So if anyone would like to read, they can go through this.
Sister Atika?
I don't mind reading, but okay. I can't translate very well though.
Okay, that's
fine.
Would it be huwa muqatilu? Would it be binu or bin?
So it'll be ibnu. So this the alif is actually just omitted because it's in the middle of the sentence, but it'll just be ibnu. But
Sulaiman, ibnu Bashir.
Sorry, when you say it, you can say muqatilu bunu. So just connect this dhamma to the ba sukun.
Okay, so it'd be muqatil ibnu.
Yeah, muqatilu bunu.
Muqatil ibnu Sulaiman ibnu
Sulaymana.
of Sulaymana ibnu Basir al-Balkhi Maulal. Oh, would it be Maul?
Yeah.
Would it be Maulal?
Mawlal
Maulal Azdi kunyatuhu Abul Hasani Wataraj
Sorry, that would actually be Tarjamahu. I'll change that now. It's actually
Okay.
Tarjamahu.
وترجمه الذهبي بقوله كبير المفسرين أبو الحسن مقاتل ابن سليمان البلخي
Sorry, that's also a mistake. Sulaymana.
سليمان البلخي.
That's wonderful. Yeah, great. So this work of biographical literature has given us just a tiny bit more about Muqatil ibn Sulayman, and this is again from I believe it's from the same book, but it's on just a bit further down maybe. So it says huwa Muqatil ibn Sulaymana. Now this construction here might look a bit strange because you might notice that this is an idafa construction. You know, this is son of Sulayman, and usually son of, if you have an idafa construction, the possessive construct, you would have e, where you have Muqatil ibn Sulaymani. But in this circumstance, we don't, and I'm not going to get into that because there are about 1,000 rules about why this circumstance, in this circumstance, you don't actually use the kasra. But the simple answer is that with a name that has that's foreign to the Arabic language, and that has alif and noon at the end, they say that it is mamnu' min as-sarf, which is, let me, so it'll be mamnu'. Which simply means that it's, I think they called it in English a diptote. I'm not going to attempt to spell that because I'm awfully bad at spelling, but they call it a diptote, which means that in this circumstance, it's not going to take the regular case, which would be an E, would be Ibn Sulaymani. In this case, it's going to take the A, because of the reasons I mentioned before, because it's foreign to the Arabic language. It's a word that's foreign to the Arabic language. And in this circumstance, it doesn't take anything other than that. So, هو مقاتل بن سليمان سليمان بن بشير البلخي. So again, that's just part of his name. Muqatil ibn Sulayman ibn Bashir, his son of Bashir. Al-Balkhi, he's part of the region of Balkh. He's a resident of the region of Balkh. Mawla al-Azd, and Mawla, you know, this Mawlana, Ya Mawlana, has connotations with master, lord, Rabb. You know, all of these words are synonyms for Mawla, but in this context, it means just simply, where is my pen? Just simply, you can just say, we use Rabb in divine terms. We use Rabb with God, but it also, we have, you know, Rabb al-Bayt, you know, somebody who just like, or it might be Rabbatul Bayt, that somebody who just looks after the affairs of the house. So you have that type of construction in Arabic. All it's simply conveying is that he was some sort of authority in the region of Balkh and also in the region of Azd, which if we look further down here, it says, هي قبيلة عربية. من كبرى قبائل العرب. It is so let's have anyone know this word? قبيلة or قبيل?
Tribe.
Wonderful, yeah. They have. It is a tribe, قبيلة, the plural version. The قبيلة, قبائل. So it is a tribe, عربية. Okay. What is this? This is a sifa of قبيلة. This is a description of the tribe. It is an Arab tribe. قبيلة عربية from كبراء قبائل. Again, the plural version. So it is an Arab tribe from the greatest of Arab tribes, or of the biggest, rather, the biggest of Arab tribes. Does anyone have any questions? I'm going to get hopefully into more of the linguistic stuff here, but just trying to get an introduction to the author himself.
No.
Okay, is that all clear? Okay, so كنيته Abu Hassan, Abul Hassan. So everyone has a kunya. What is my kunya? Unfortunately, they used to call me Branston Pickle, and you might have an understanding. So my name's Brandon, so some people would call me Branston Pickle. Or they'll call me just, Brandon, like, or they'll call me something, I don't know, everyone, you call Joe, you call a man named Joseph, Joe, sometimes. It's just a nickname. So everyone has a kunya. So we know that his name is Muqatil ibn Sulaiman, but his kunya, his nickname, is Abul Hassan. So the verb would be kan. This is to give a nickname. Kana yukanni. I think it's just takniya. It's not used that often, but this is just a noun. This is the verbal noun, which is something different, which would be the process of giving somebody a nickname. So kunyatuhu, this just means nickname. So kunyatuhu Abu Hassan. His nickname is Abu Hassan. وترجمه الذهبي بقوله, and this person here, الذهبي, who is also a historian and many other things too, has described him or has written about him. ترجمه, it's one of those weird verbs that has 4 letters. So ترجمه. Sorry, writing today is going on. Actually, can't. There we go. Maybe. Sorry about that. يترجم. I can write that again. Okay, so ترجمه الذهبي بقوله. الذهبي, this historian named الذهبي, has described him as, with his statement, كبير المفسرين, one of the great mufassirin, one of the when I say great, I mean as in size, not as in necessarily good or bad or the best, or I mean great as in he's well known. He's a very well known commentator on the Quran. So Kabir al-Mufassirin, I'm sure I don't need to go into that further, perhaps. Abu Hassan Muqatil ibn Sulaiman al-Balkhi. Again, so you have this the same mention of the region in the name, and that's pretty much it. The biography is pretty slim. There's not many details about who he was as an actual person. It's more about where was he from, how even the discussion in the book goes into discussions. When was he born? And there's various debates about when he was born, who were his parents and such. So, okay, and then we get into where was he born, and the place is Khorasan. And Khorasan, back in the early period of Islam, was a place for many scholars. Loads of them come from it, and we'll see in this statement that there's a big claim. I mean, that even half of them, it says here, وَجَدْتَ نِفْسَهُمْ مِنْ خُرَاسَانَ. You found almost half of the scholars, the ulama muhaddithun, from the region of Khorasan. Does anyone want to read this sentence?
Sister Atika, do you want to read?
Okay. Okay, just a second. Just a minute. Okay. وكانت خراسان في القرآن الثاني والثالث ورابع هجري. And Khorasan was like in the second and the third or fourth Hijri.
Yeah, wonderful.
من أهم مراكز. It was the major center al-ahya wal-fikriya, like major center of major center of academics.
Yeah, wonderful.
في بلاد الإسلامك in the Islamic country. وزهر منها كبار المحدثين, and it has produced many great محدثين. وعددا من المفسرين والفقهاء, and few of them from the mufassir scholars and jurists. حتى قال البكري, until Bakri said, ومنهم العلماء, and among the scholars, والنبلاء, don't know what nubala'i, what is nubala, والمحدثون, and the scholars, والنساقي والمتحبدون. I don't know, nasaq or muta'abbadun. Like someone who is like doing ibadah.
Wonderful, yeah.
Related to that.
Perfect, yeah.
وأنت إذا أحصيت, and it was أحصيت like أحصيت, muhaddithin are what that.
If you continue the sentence, you might come to understand what the word means without even knowing.
Okay, muhaddithin fi kulli balad wajadta, and find nisfahum, and you will find half of them from Khorasan. And is it when ahsayta al-muhandisun? No, and muhaddithin, and it's when you ahsa means correcting, or hasa, I know I'm unable to figure out.
Yeah, so if it says وأنت إذا حصيت المحدثين في كل.
If you want to find muhaddis,
So
looking for.
I think there's a hadith that uses the same terminology, but it means to count, to enumerate. There's that.
To enumerate, to number.
Yeah, if you were to try to count the blessings of God, you wouldn't be able to. The same word here is used. وأنت إذا أحصيت المحدثين في كل بلد. If you
will find half of them from Khorasan.
Yeah, exactly. You would have found half of them.
Great times.
Sorry?
Great times, I said. Those have to be done great times.
Yeah, inshallah, it could be the same for our own respective countries. Inshallah, we'll have loads of well-learned people in all places. But it makes sense. I mean, Khorasan was, neighboring the Arab space, so it it makes sense that a lot of them came out of that region, but there's always potential for more. So similarly, so here we don't have many. Okay, actually, I should go through the so وكانت خراسان في القرن قرن simply century قرن قرون. وكانت خراسان في القرن الثاني الثالث والرابع second third fourth الهجري on the Hijri calendar من أهم. This is اسم التفضيل, so it's just the most important, or the most important, as you well translated very well. مراكز الحياة الفكرية, center of learning essentially. في بلاد الإسلام وظهر that's I'm sure a word that you know all. ظهر to appear before. وظهر منها كبار. What's the singular of this? كبير. Yeah, كبير. وظهر منها من أين؟ من خراسان. وظهر من الخراسان كبار المحدثين, the biggest of transmitters. وعدد, and the number من المفسرين, and the number of commentators on the Quran. What's the singular of mufassir? Mufassirun. Sorry. Mufassir. والفقهاء.
Fuqaha is fiqh of
We have faqih.
yeah, faqih.
And the word faqih is linked to fahm. Fahmun amiqun. It means just to have a very deep understanding of something. Faqihun. وعدد من المفسرين والفقهاء حتى قال البكري. Honestly, I have no idea who Bakri is, but he says ومنهم ومن الناس الذي ذكرهم في الماضي, from the people that he mentioned in the past, العلماء والنبلاء والمحدثون والنساك والمتعبدون. So from these people are the scholars. Al-ulama was alim. Sorry, I keep saying it. Alim, alim, ulama. Nubala actually has, weirdly, I imagine if you look into the etymology of this, you might find it has some origin. The English word has some origin in the Arabic, perhaps. So can anyone guess what the singular version of this is, or what it means, based on its sound, or based on its sound, purely alone on its sounds? A nubala. You have the same letters basically in English. So it just means the singular is nabil. Nabala. Nobles. So nubala. والنبلاء والمحدثون والنساق. And so the muhaddithun, we know the transmitters, والنساق, ascetics, or someone who's pious and lives a life of abstination. So I believe it is nasikh, the same as well, as same form. Nasikh, nusakh. I'll write that again. والناسك والمتعبد تعبد. Sorry, where am I? تعبد. So let me write it on the page. Let me give an example sentence. I say كان النبي I'm just going to put صلى الله عليه وسلم يتعبد في غار الحراء. Can someone read this? كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يتعبد في غار الحراء. غار, simply a cave, and we have a synonym كهف. كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يتعبد في غار حراء, meaning he was worshipping God in the cave of Hira. عند النزول الوحي. كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يتعبد في غار حراء. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم was worshipping or in devotion in the cave of Hira. عند نزول الوحي. عند, when the revelation was sent down. نزول, نزل, ينزل, ينزل, نزول. الوحي, the Quran is wahi. The Quran is revelation. Okay. Okay, so العلماء والنبلاء والمحدثون والنساخ والمتعبدون. Might be متعبدون عفوا. وأنت إذا أحصيت أحصى يحصي. Is everyone familiar with this form that I'm using right now? Yeah. So, what type of verb is this?
And would that be past tense?
Wonderful. So it's
ناقص.
فعل ماضي. What did you say?
ناقص.
ناقص. What do you mean by ناقص?
The end letter is a vowel.
Ah, okay. Yes, wonderful. معتل. معتل. Wonderful. Let's see. What else about it? على أي وزن? On what pattern?
إفعال. إفعال.
Okay, fine. Sorry. And that's part of it. I guess the af'ala, maybe, but that's fine. Both are acceptable. Ahsa, which damir, how would you use that? It says here, إذا أحصيت المحدثين. So you could say إذا أحصيت التلاميذ. The bottom. إذا أحصيت التلاميذ. Actually, I think that might be, yeah, التلاميذ. What else can you count? And then there'll need to be a finishing off the sentence, but what else can you count? بيوت.
Fawaqih.
What is that?
Fawaqih. From
Oh,
Faqih.
fawaqih.
Fruits.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, so you can use it in that sense. So إذا أحصيت. On the present tense, what do we have here? So يحصي, أحصى, يحصي, إحصاء. So this is the past tense, present tense, and the verbal noun, which means to enumerate. Sorry about my spelling. I don't know how to spell that. To enumerate. So أحصى, he enumerated or he counted. يحصي, he is counting. إحصاء, to count, to enumerate, the process of counting. All of those things are acceptable. Okay, so that's just a short introduction into the Muqatil ibn Sulaiman and the place that he was from, which is Khurasan, very proliferate place for the ulama in the very second, third, fourth centuries, and I imagine beyond too. So that's just the introduction, really. But we have as well this question that arises when you read the Quran, which is, why is the Quran the way it is? You know, why is this language so important? Why is God chose Arabic as a means to convey the divine message, the message about His Tawheed, about His mercy? Why has God chose His last iteration to be in such a language, and how are we to act now that we have so many barriers in between understanding that? So I've selected a few verses by which hopefully we can understand this issue a bit better, because the Mufassirun are attempting to, yufassiru al-ayat, so they can explain the ayat to us, so that we can have, because they're closer to the time of the Prophet and they have perhaps more resources at their disposal, they can give us more of an insight into what the purpose of this all is, and also give us an appreciation for the language. So does anyone like to read the beautiful surah ayah from Surah Yusuf?
Who's the other sister, SN? Would she like to
Her
read?
name's Ishta.
Ishta, would you like to read? She's not here.
Ashita?
I don't mind reading it again because it's a short one this time.
Okay.
إنا أنزلناه قرآن عربيا لعلكم تعقلون.
Wonderful. إنا أنزلناه قرآنا عربيا لعلكم تعقلون. So we have inna, have this emphasis, inna. We often translate as verily or certainly, or I mean, I don't like those translations. I think they're a bit outdated, but inna is simply emphasis, you know, it's you're introducing something that's of great importance. So inna, but it's also here broken down. It's also here including the doer of the action that is to come, which is inzal, anzala. So it says inna and na. So inna, certainly, we anzalnahu. So anzala. If you know the verb, then you can just help me out. Anzala, yunzilu.
ينزل إنزالا.
Okay, so inna anzalnahu. So God is saying, we have sent it down. It. I think what they say about it is that can just mean ذلك, you know, kitab. There's a poem in because you know you have inna anzalnahu. What is it talking about? Like, this is, you know, out of context, but you don't have the noun introduced before the pronoun. You know, so you're thinking inna anzalnahu, we sent it down. What is this it? And it has to be that book that he's talking about. ذلك الكتاب. Inna anzalnahu. I was going to say there's a poem which I mentioned last year, which is هو الحب. هو الحب فاسلم بالحشاء. It. The sentence starts with a pronoun. You know, usually you only introduce a pronoun later on when you've used the word that you don't want to repeat again. So it says it. هو الحب. It is love. هو الحب فاسلم بالحشاء. Surrender with your heart. But why would you use it here? It's to emphasize the grandeur of the matter. It's to emphasize that something is taking up your mental space. You know, it's occupying your mind. So it's to emphasize the grandeur of the matter. So I say يدل على ما حاضر في الذهن. يدل على ما هو حاضر في الذهن. It indicates to that which is present in the mind. So this huwa here goes back to that which is present in the mind. So you don't need to indicate it with the word. You just to increase the grandeur of the matter, you just say it, i.e. that which is in my head is love. Okay, so that's a small point, but anyway. So inna anzalnahu Qur'anan Arabiyan. Qur'an, again, that maybe doesn't need to be explained, but Arabiyan. So we sent it down, a Arabic Quran, and as you can see, perhaps through the root letters, this Quran comes from the same root as qara'a, to read. اقرأوا قراءة. إنا أنزلناه قرآنا عربيا لعلكم. La'alla is expressing a hope or expressing a wish that this verb happens, that this meaning here happens. لعلكم تعقلون. Can anyone explain that? What is
that you all think?
Wonderful, yeah. So that you all ponder and reflect. So aqala, this is a slightly different variation, but aqala is to, or yaqilu. Aql, I think it's aql. Okay. So that's to think or reflect. And it's interesting because this verb is not well, this verb actually, this we'll get to this later actually. Okay, so aqala yaqilu simply means to, you know, tafhamu, yeah, kay tafhamu. Tafhamu. So that you can understand. Taqilu, tafhamu. Okay, so I've just ruined this wonderful drawing. Okay, so now you can see the style of Muqatil ibn Sulaiman. It's just the most simple explanation that I've ever seen on a verse. That obviously has loads and loads of consequences. Obviously, anyone who reads it will have questions. You know, anyone who's not an Arab will have questions. You know, about this verse. But he only gives us a small, very very small explanation of it. So he says, "Inna anzalnahu Qur'an Arabiyyan la'allakum ta'qilun." So that which is between the brackets is just the Quran. Then he says, "Ya'ni likay." You know, "Ya'ni." What does "ya'ni" mean? You hear this is probably the only word most people know. You know, when they first start learning Arabic, "Ya'ni."
Meaning.
Wonderful, yeah. So ya'ni likay. He's saying this verse. So we only sent it down as an Arabic Quran so that you. He's explaining this la'allakum, I believe. Ya'ni likay, la'allakum likay. So in hopes that. Likay means just in order. In order that you. And then he's going to bring the verse again. Ta'qilun. So this is all part of the verse in the brackets, is it not? Alakum ta'qilun, so that you may understand, in order that you may understand. And obviously you can see this is an Arabic audience. And then he says, Ayatun ma fihi law kana al-Qur'anu ghayra Arabiyyin ma fahimuhu wa la aqiluhu. Okay, so he says, what is in the ayah, or what is understood from the ayah, ayatun ma fihi, and then he's going to explain. Let's say, لو كان القرآن غير عربيا. Low. He's going to. This is a hypothetical. You know, he's saying if low. If here. كان القرآن غير. If the Quran, we have the mubtada, the Quran is the subject of this sentence. If it were low kana, if the Quran were al-Quranu غير. Sorry, my battery is running. At any point, if you don't understand, or I'm just being too convoluted, then just let me know. لو كان القرآن غير عربي, if it were other than Arabic, غير عربي, ما فهموه ولا أقلوه. Is that clear? That's all clear. I don't even think that needs maybe explaining, perhaps. You wouldn't. So he's introducing a hypothetical, and then this is the response. لو كان القرآن غير عربي, ما فهموه ولا أقلوه. You wouldn't understand it. You wouldn't reflect on it. I think that's clear. So we can maybe move on from that. And later, I think he has a longer explanation in a similar, very, very similar verse about this. Does anyone want to read this? I apologize. This is more text reading heavy than it is actually practical. But one of the ways of increasing your own vocabulary is by simply just by reading and exposing yourself to different literature. And so whenever you have questions, just put your hand up and we can ask you. Yeah. Did someone say?
It says mulahiza. So should I read?
There's a lot of spelling mistakes because I only just made it recently. So. Allah. Yeah. Yeah, please read if you do.
Yeah, so ملاحظة, observation. كما رأينا التفسير لمقاتل ابن سليمان يكون قصيرا. So what we have seen from the tafsir of Ibn Sulaiman, it is short. لا يشتمل فيه, it's not included in كل ما يطلب الطالب, it's not included what a student requires. من المعلومات, from the information. كي يفهموا كلام الله تعالى. Like what the word of Allah is meant here. وَيَجِبُ عَلَيْنَا الْآن. So it is mandatory upon us, or it is needed from us. أَن نَتَجَرَّ, like we need to feed like we need to explore from the tafasir أخرى, other tafasir.
Wonderful, yeah.
أو نقرأ, or we read مما from them كتب مقاتل عنه في أماكن مختلفة. And it is mandatory upon us to search from other tafsir and read and we read from what is written in Muqatil from it في أماكن مختلفة, on the other places.
Wonderful, yeah, that's beautiful. Okay, did everyone understand what was going on? So we have كما رأينا التفسير لمقاتل بن سليمان. So this lam here is lam of possession, so lam al-milkiya, let's just say. So كما رأينا, as we have seen. You did a wonderful job translating, but just in case. التفسير لمقاتل بن سليمان. The tafsir of Muqatil ibn Sulaiman يكون, this is the present tense, كان يكون كون. It is small, it is short, it's only a couple of lines as we've seen. قصير, short. لا يشمل فيه كل ما يطلب الطالب من المعلومات. It doesn't include everything that a student needs to know of the details. In order كي يفهم كلام الله تعالى, that he may understand the speech of God. There's hardly anything in it at all, right? He said he added maybe one or two different variations. لا يشمل فيه يشمل. I believe a synonym would be احتوى. يحتوي. Does anyone know how long we have? يحتوي.
I think it's more than 1 hour already.
Is it really? Oh no. We have 1 hour and 15 minutes, right? I think so. Yeah, I think it
I
starts.
joined 20 minutes late, so
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think we have maybe 10 minutes perhaps. Okay. So I think I did prepare maybe something else, but so what was I doing? So ihtawa, yahtawi, ihtiwa, to include something. So yashmulu. I think it's shamala, yashmulu, shumul, to include something, to be inclusive of. Shumul. It means, let's say, يَؤُمُّ شيئين. أو أكثر. So they will say يَؤُمُّ شيئين أو أكثر. يَؤُمُّ. Does anyone know what amma يَؤُمُّ means? Umum. So amma means, again, to include. It means that which is encompassing, that which expands, that which more than two things are a part of, perhaps. Ya'ummu, it includes shay'aini, two things, أو أكثر, or more, أكثر, the اسم التفضيل, the أكثر. Okay. يشمل فيه كل ما يطلب الطالب من المعلومات كي يفهم. Again, فهم. This is the maqsad. This is the objective of all that we do, of the when we're learning about the words of God. It's fahm. It's so we understand the Quranic message. Because this word here, what we learned, aniya, ya'ni, aniya and ya'ni, that means to be of concern, right? Is it I forget the hadith, but the mu'min, or the person who doesn't concern himself with that which is not his business is the mu'min, right? Is the believer, is the person that is upright. And this same word, concern, aniya, ya'ni, is the same word that is used here. So where am I again? كي يفهم كلام الله تعالى فيجب علينا الآن يجب علينا أن نتبحر في تفاسير أخرى. يجب علينا. What other things are upon us? What other things have wujub, have this obligation upon us? As-salat, as-sawm, all of these things. Any أوجب الله علينا الصلاة. Allah has made upon us obligatory the prayer. أوجب, to make obligatory. وجب, to be obligatory. أوجب, to make obligatory. أوجب علينا الصلاة. Let's say Allah here, but the fa'il. Allahu علينا الصلاة. Okay, are there any words here that are not understood? I think you all, yeah, they're all not too difficult at all.
No.
Let's say, نتبحر يعني أي جذع يعني نتبحر من أين يأتي ما هو الاشتقاق what's the origin of this word تبحر if I speak in Arabic sometimes is it مفهوم is it understood
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
من أين تأتي الكلمة تبحر and where does the word
بحر
البحر يكون يعني واسعا the sea is expansive فإذا تبحرنا في التفاسير لنجد اللؤلؤات if we do this تبحر سنجد we'll find اللؤلؤ we'll find pearls and gems
to delve deep down
to delve deep down exactly there wasn't there wasn't تبحر or تفعل means to there's some difficulty in it it's a strenuous activity to do تعبد
like تعلم
تعلم exactly yes it's not an easy thing to do تعلم
okay
it's something that has some difficulty in it في تفاسير أخرى أو نقرأ مما كتب مقاتل عنه في أماكن أخرى it depends do you guys have commitments
Yeah.
you do you have a place to go
Yeah.
okay I'll wrap this up then in a couple I think I'll quickly just if you have just a minute I'll quickly just introduce the grammar aspect to it okay so just in 2 minutes literally so what we'll do with the grammar aspect is we'll just study quickly the irregular verbs. An irregular verb is simply a verb that has waw or ya somewhere in it in the root. So if you have kataba, you have kaf, ta, and ba. One of those letters in a word that's weak will be irregular. So we have an example here. Awa. We have loads of irregular letters there, to be frank, but if you see the last letter, it's irregular. It's this weak vowel, this alif maksura that changes in different places. So how do we do morphology or sarf with a letter like that? When it's in the beginning, when it's in the middle, when it's in the end, or when there's a verb like, shadda. Like you have 3 letters there technically, but the shadda is hiding 1 letter. You should see the sheen, dal, and dal, but you don't. You see shadda. So how do we conjugate these verbs? So I've still got 1 minute left. So we'll do the past tense first, and then next week we can do the present tense and so on and so forth. So with this one we have awa. You have huwa awa. Awa means to take shelter, to go to a place, to take general shelter. That's what it means. So we have the example: Awa ila ghurfati nawmihi. He went to his bedroom. Awa. So all you need to do is, in all honesty, I think it's just a matter of just familiarizing yourself with the verbs. It's not necessarily that you have to memorize every single variation of the word, because you can put them on this pattern. But you just familiarize yourself with the pattern and try to remember it in that way. So awa, awaya, huma awaya, hum awaw, hiya awat, huma awata, hunna awayna, anta awayta, antuma, awaytuma, antum, awaytum, and so on and so forth. You conjugate these because you'll see, look, the word started off awa with hamza, waw, and alif maksura, and then ya comes along in the second variation because there's an extended alif that comes, because it would usually be kataba, and so you have another alif, and so it becomes ya, it's extended. So these are forms that you just have to familiarize yourself with, and then you'll be able to put other verbs in that way. And so sorry for taking so long on. I didn't split the class perfectly, but and I don't think that the future classes will take this exactly the same format. I'll try to make it a bit more interactive with plenty more examples, but this is a new way of doing it, so experimental in some ways. But thank you for your patience, and I hope it was beneficial to some degree, and we'll see you inshallah next month or sooner, whenever, inshallah. Does anyone have any questions or anything?
No, I don't.
No, thank you. Jazakallah.
Barakallah.
Alright, thank you.
Alaikum salam.
Thank you. Ma'as salama.
Alaikum salam.